Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something that still doesn't feel real, like the slow echo of a dream you keep trying to wake up from. You're sitting on a brittle leather chair that smells like decades old printer ink, fluorescent lights buzzing above your head. The room is uncomfortably warm, but no one dares take off their jackets. Your sister's perfume rose and victory wafts in from 3 seats down. A stack of crisp envelopes rests in front of the family lawyer, like it holds a loaded weapon. It kind of does. You probably won't survive this story with your trust in humanity intact. I'll just say that up front. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, post your location and local time below. I love seeing where you're tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The will reading begins with the usual formality. The lawyer's voice is flat, like he's narrating a documentary about wallpaper. You expect nothing big. Maybe mom left you a bracelet or some obscure vintage book you forgot she even liked. But then he says it. The words that drop like a bowling ball into a shallow pond. To my daughter Sabrina, I leave the house, the savings, the antique jewelry collection, and all remaining assets. That's it. No mention of you. Not even a line about how my other daughter will understand. Nothing. Just the cold slap of being invisible in a room full of people watching you pretend it didn't hurt. You glance at Sabrina. Her face is the perfect picture of respectful grief, but the corner of her mouth twitches, like she's hiding a smile. You look at the attorney waiting for him to shuffle the next paper and say, "And now for my second daughter." But nothing comes. It's not unheard of. Historians still argue whether Shakespeare left his wife only his second best bed as a slight or as a weird show of affection. Some claim it was a passive aggressive jab. Others say that was just the bed they actually slept in together. Who knows? You sit there frozen, but your ears start to ring. You barely remember the rest of the meeting. You signed something you probably shouldn't. People offer vague condolences. You hear she must have had her reasons more times than you can count. By the time you step outside, the sun has dropped behind the courthouse. It's that eerie twilight hour when everything looks flat and dull, just like your mood. The air smells like wet leaves and street grease. Your phone buzzes with a message from your cousin Lucy. "I'm so sorry, that was messed up." You want to scream, you want to cry. Instead, you just stare at the screen. Later in your tiny apartment where the paint's chipped and the pipes still groan like they're haunted by bad plumbing decisions, you replay the will reading in your head like a scene you can't edit. Over and over. Why would mom do this? You weren't close, but you weren't estranged. You were there at the end. You helped when Sabrina was too busy with her yoga retreats and juice cleanses. You light a candle on your windowsill because that's what people do when someone dies, right? You watch the flame flicker against the dusty glass and think about ancient funeral customs. Did you know that in Viking funerals, they sometimes placed the deceased on a boat, set it on fire, and pushed it into the sea? It was about release, letting go. But right now, you can't let go of the feeling that something's off. A small voice in your head keeps whispering it. This doesn't make sense. Mom wouldn't leave you nothing unless someone made her. That thought lodges in your chest like a splinter. You brush it off at first. Tell yourself you're just hurt emotional, but it stays. And later that night, as you scroll through old texts, you find one from mom dated just 2 weeks before she passed. It says, "Remind me to show you something when you come Sunday. Love you." You never made it that Sunday. Sabrina canceled the visit, claimed mom was tired, said you could come next time. There wasn't a next time. You still remember how Sabrina used to hum when she got away with something. Not a real tune, just this annoying little under-the-breath rhythm like she was dancing in her own head. You'd hear it after she got out of doing chores or when she wore your clothes without asking, and mom said nothing. You'd hear it echoing from the hallway after she got praised for your ideas at school presentations. That hum became a kind of soundtrack to your childhood. She was the saint, the golden child, the girl who could do no wrong. You were just there, background noise in your own family album. You start digging through old photos the next day, not because you're nostalgic, but because you're looking for something. Anything. A face, a pattern, a sign you missed. One birthday photo from age 10 catches your eye. You're in the corner, blurry half out of frame. Sabrina is front and center holding your gift like it was hers. Your expression is impossible to ignore. It's not jealousy, it's resignation. Even back then, you knew the script. You scroll further back in your mind. One time when you were 8, you drew a picture of mom and proudly taped it to the fridge. The next morning, it was gone. Sabrina's watercolor version of the same idea had taken its place. Mom gushed over it for days. You never mentioned your drawing again. And that's the thing about memory, it's not always fair, but it doesn't lie either. It's like an archaeological dig. You keep brushing away the sand until bones start to show. Historians still argue whether Cleopatra truly seduced Caesar for love or power. Some say she was a brilliant strategist. Others, a woman caught in politics far bigger than herself. But either way, she played the game, and Sabrina. She was playing too. You just didn't know it yet. You remember the family vacations. The beach trip where Sabrina accidentally told mom you snuck out to meet friends even though it was her idea. The Christmas when she cried over not getting the doll she wanted, and you quietly gave her yours. Every time something bad happened, it was your fault. Every time something good happened, she was the reason. Still, you believed that deep down mom loved you equally. She just showed it differently. But now with the will, with that text message, you're not so sure. You start making a timeline. Not like a conspiracy theorist, more like a detective with too much grief and too little closure. You list the dates when mom was diagnosed, when her symptoms worsened the last few hospital visits, and crucially, when Sabrina began handling things. She handled the medications, the doctor visits, the paperwork. She said you were too busy with work, that you weren't strong enough to watch mom fade. You accepted that, even appreciated it at the time. But now you're wondering how much she handled that you never saw. A quirky little fact you stumble across while procrastinating in Victorian England: grieving widows were expected to wear black for at least 2 years, and if they didn't, they were seen as suspicious. Imagine being haunted by the color of your clothes. You wonder how many smiles Sabrina has gotten away with hiding under a black dress. The idea that something sinister might be lurking beneath your sister's careful grief doesn't feel impossible anymore. It feels likely. So you dig deeper. You call the hospital. They can't say much, privacy laws and all, but the nurse who answers sounds familiar. You ask her name. When she says Marina, something clicks. She was there on the last day. You remember her voice. Soft but firm. Like someone who's seen too much. You ask if she remembers your mom. There's a pause. Then I remember Sabrina more. You ask why. She hesitates again, then says, "It's not really my place, but if you're looking for the truth, maybe talk to the night staff. They saw more." She hangs up before you can thank her. You sit back on your couch holding your phone like it might ring again and tell you what to do next. Instead, the silence grows, thick, heavy. You look at the dusty plant in the corner of your living room. It's barely alive, one of those succulents that survives out of spite. You think about how easy it is to forget to water things, how easy it is to let something die slowly while smiling through the whole process. Maybe that's what Sabrina did with mom, with your relationship, with the truth. Maybe this whole time you thought you were being a good daughter by stepping back, but now you realize you were just being erased. You're standing in mom's old kitchen, and everything smells like lemon oil and unresolved tension. The light still flickers above the sink when the dishwasher runs. The plants on the windowsill are half alive, frozen in that weird state, where you're not sure if they're holding on or just really good at pretending. Kind of like how mom looked during her final weeks. You hadn't been back in this house since the funeral. Sabrina had locked it up fast, said it was too painful to keep walking through memory lane. You let it go like you always do. But now, standing here alone, you feel like something in the house is watching. Not in a creepy way, just aware. Grief has a way of heightening your senses. The ticking clock feels louder. The chill from the tile floor creeps higher up your spine. Even the fridge seems to hum in a lower tone, like it's keeping a secret. You walk slowly down the hallway past the room mom spent her final days in. The air feels heavier there. You sit at the edge of the bed, sinking into the same spot where you used to brush her hair and talk about nothing. And by nothing, you mean everything, like what TV shows made her laugh when she couldn't eat, or how she wanted her ashes scattered in the rose garden she never finished planting. You think back to one of your last conversations. It had been short. Mom's voice was weak, but her eyes had locked onto yours with surprising force. She doesn't understand the difference between caretaking and control, she had whispered. You didn't push for more at the time. You should have. Historians still debate whether the infamous Roman Emperor Nero really played the liar while Rome burned, or if that's just propaganda, the truth. Maybe it's both. Maybe people really can smile while everything crumbles, as long as they're the ones holding the match. Back in the present, you decide to check the guest room closet. You don't know why, maybe just instinct, Or maybe it's that persistent voice in your head saying she wanted to show you something. You kneel and open the creaky door. The closet smells like old wood and faint lavender. The shelves are empty, but the floorboards are weirdly uneven. You press down on one and it clicks like a pressure latch. That's when you notice the smallest edge of cardboard poking out. You pull. It takes effort, but eventually you uncover a medium-sized box wrapped in an old tablecloth. Inside a stack of papers, a few envelopes, and a Polaroid photo of you and Mom gardening. On the back in her handwriting, plant what matters, even if no one sees it grow. You swallow hard, but it's the envelope underneath that stops your breath. It's sealed with red wax. Your name is written across the front in ink that's faded but still strong. You don't open it right away, you sit with it. Then you slide your finger under the flap and gently tear it open. Inside is a legal-looking document, another will. You scan it. Dated 3 weeks after the one that was read aloud. Notarized, signed, witnessed. And the words hit like a lightning bolt. I leave my home finances and personal belongings to my daughter, your name, who has always understood my heart even in silence. You sit very, very still. You reread it. Then again, it's not a copy, not a draft, not a hopeful note scribbled in a journal. It's the real thing. And it changes everything. You blink back tears, but they don't fall. Not yet. Because with this discovery comes something colder, heavier. The question that fills your gut with ice. Why wasn't this the version the lawyer read? You look again at the date. It's newer. It should have replaced the old one. So someone buried this on purpose. Probably the same someone who had keys to the house, access to every drawer, and a habit of humming when things went their way. Sabrina. You place the envelope gently back in the box and carry it to the kitchen like it's radioactive. You lay it on the counter, then pick up your phone. You hover over the lawyer's name and your contacts. You don't call. Not yet. Instead, you snap a photo of the will, then the photo, then the envelope, then the timestamp on your phone next to all of it. Documentation matters now. Evidence isn't emotional. Then you sit at the table, the same table where Mom used to clip coupons and scold Sabrina for taking the last biscuit. You remember that because it was rare. Because she almost never scolded her. You take a deep breath and let it out slowly. You're not sure what the next move is yet, but you know one thing. This time, you're not going to be erased. The box sits like a time bomb on the passenger seat as you drive home. Every red light feels longer than it should, and every bump in the road makes your stomach jolt. You keep glancing at it, half expecting it to disappear like you imagined the whole thing. But it's there, real, undeniable, and entirely destabilizing. You replay your last family gathering in your head, not the funeral, before that. The day you scattered Mom's ashes. It was supposed to be quiet, intimate. Just you, Sabrina, a few relatives, and a small container of what was left. The wind that day had been unpredictable, the kind of gusty breeze that always made you question the accuracy of weather apps. The ashes had blown sideways into the garden bed Sabrina insisted Mom would have wanted, even though Mom had always preferred orchids to roses. You remember watching Sabrina drop the first handful of ashes like she was sprinkling sugar on oatmeal? Delicate, posed, performance grief. It wasn't until everyone had wandered off into the kitchen for punch and pity that you heard it. Your uncle whispering in the hallway to your cousin, "Didn't she say she changed it, the will, I mean? I thought did Sabrina." And then a door creaked and they noticed you standing there. Both of them went stiff, offered awkward smiles, and walked away without another word. At the time, your brain dismissed it. Grief fog, you figured. People say weird things at funerals, but now it plays like a confession. Historians still argue whether Marie Antoinette actually said, "Let them eat cake." Most think she didn't, that it was a convenient smear to villainize someone already disliked. But whether she said it or not, the phrase stuck. Because it fit the narrative people already believed. That's the thing about narratives. They don't have to be true. They just have to feel true. You begin to wonder, how long has Sabrina been shaping this one? You sit with that memory all night, turning it over like a coin you're afraid to spend. The next morning, you return to the house, not because you want to, but because something's scratching at the back of your skull. A detail. A feeling. You walk through the front door again. No one knows you're there. This time, you head for the attic. The ladder groans under your weight like it's complaining. The air thickens as you climb, hot, still laced with the faint smell of mothballs and old insulation. You duck under a hanging bulb, pull the cord, and blink as the single bare light flutters to life. Boxes, so many boxes. Labeled in Mom's neat handwriting, Xmas 2009, kitchen tools Dad's junk don't toss. But there's one tucked into the corner marked only with a tiny star drawn in red pen. You pull it down. Dust blooms around your face and you sneeze hard enough to shake the floorboard. Inside photos, old greeting cards and journals, dozens of them. You sit cross-legged, flipping through one at random. 2017, then 2020, then 2022. They're mostly mundane grocery lists, snippets of thoughts, entries about the weather and her dreams. But then on a page dated just a week before she passed, you read, Sabrina is watching me like a hawk. She won't let me speak to anyone alone. I asked her to bring the new will to my lawyer. She smiled and said she would. I don't think she did. You freeze. Read it again. Mom knew, and she tried to fix it. The pen stroke trails off like she was tired, or maybe interrupted. You carefully tuck the journal into your bag along with the will. Then you hear something below floorboards creaking. You weren't expecting anyone. You hold your breath. Then your phone buzzes in your pocket. It's Sabrina. Just checking in. Everything okay? No one says that out of the blue, not after weeks of radio silence. You text back something vague, yeah, just thinking about mom. Three dots, typing, then nothing. You wait, heart pounding. Eventually, she replies, we should talk soon. Right. Soon. You make sure to take photos of everything, the attic, the journal page, the box. You even record a video panning through the space, time-stamped and narrated. It's like building a digital lifeboat just in case the physical version mysteriously disappears. When you get back home, you feel the exhaustion hit like a sandbag. You collapse onto your couch holding the journal like it might dissolve if you let go. You're not just grieving anymore. You're investigating. And suddenly you understand something about mom. She wasn't just preparing for death, she was preparing to be silenced. The next morning, you can't sit still. Your coffee goes cold while you stare out the window, watching a squirrel terrorize your neighbor's bird feeder like it owes him money. The world moves on as if everything's fine, as if you didn't just find your mother's real will hidden in the attic. You feel like one of those characters in a heist movie who stumbles upon the blueprints to the vault, except you're not stealing anything. You're trying to get back what was already yours. You glance over at the table where the will sits under a glass paperweight. The paper has started to curl slightly at the edges, but the signature is clear, crisp. It looks like her, feels like her. Like that birthday card she gave you when you turned 21, the one where she apologized for forgetting to call. She hadn't forgotten. She just didn't want to argue with Sabrina. It's time to talk to the lawyer. You drive to his office without calling first. No warning. You want the surprise. When you walk in, he looks up from behind a stack of legal pads and blinks twice like he's seeing a ghost. Then he smiles, but it's the kind of smile people give when their brain is still calculating what version of the truth they're about to serve you. You sit. He straightens his tie. I wasn't expecting you. I bet. He leans back. How are you holding up? You slide the envelope across the desk. He pauses. Doesn't touch it. Just stares at it like it might explode. I found this in Mom's attic, you say calmly. Dated after the one you read at the will reading. He finally lifts it, opens the flap, and reads. His eyes move fast, scanning. His jaw tightens. This wasn't in the files, he says softly. This changes things. You raise an eyebrow, does it? He meets your gaze. Look, if this is legitimate, and I'm not saying it isn't, it'll need to go through probate again. But your sister, she'll contest it. She'll say it's forged. That your mother wasn't of sound mind. Was she? She was tired, he admits, but coherent. Mostly. Depends on who you ask. Historians still argue whether Joan of Arc's trial was more about her visions or her defiance. Some say the court feared her influence, not her faith. You think of your mother like that soft-spoken but with a spine made of quiet steel. Maybe Sabrina feared that strength. Or maybe she wanted to be the only one to inherit it. I want you to file it, you say. The lawyer swallows. That's going to get messy. You nod. It already is. He hesitates, then sets the will aside gently. I'll do some digging first, see what I can confirm. You leave his office with the same feeling you get after slamming the door in a heated argument. Satisfaction tinged with dread. At home, you open your laptop and start building a file. Not just a folder, a case, emails, text messages, photos of the will, the journal entry, the attic photos, voice memos from your own phone as you narrate details to yourself like some amateur detective with a grudge and decent Wi-Fi. Then you send one email to Sabrina. Subject found something interesting. No body text, just the attachment, a screenshot of the will. No explanation, just silence. Within 10 minutes, your phone rings. You don't pick up, you let it go to voicemail. She doesn't leave one. 15 minutes later, another call. Then a text. You need to stop. You don't know what you're doing. Another one. We should talk, privately. You stare at your screen. No reply, not yet. Instead, you go back to Mom's journals. There's something oddly comforting about them. Her handwriting loops in familiar curves. One entry reads like a grocery list crossed with a secret message. Need to pick up oatmeal. And remember, sometimes the loudest person isn't the right one. You smile. Then you flip to the back cover and something catches your eye. Taped inside the back flap is a photo of you and Mom. Not Sabrina, just you. Sitting on the front steps holding matching mugs of tea. On the back. She'll be the one who listens. You run your fingers over the paper like you can feel her warmth again. You hear your phone buzz again, another text from Sabrina. This isn't what mom wanted, but now you're sure she's right. Because what mom really wanted was for you to find this. That night, you barely sleep. You keep the will tucked under your pillow like a child hiding a secret diary from a nosy sibling, which is pretty on brand now that you think about it. Every creak in the apartment makes you flinch. Every passing car feels like it might pull into the lot and bring the whole lie crashing down. But morning comes and the sky is too blue for the way you feel. You make toast, you don't eat it. You check your email. Sabrina hasn't sent anything new, which might mean she's plotting or panicking. Probably both. You decide to visit the notary listed on the new will. His name is Stuart Langdon, and his office is crammed between a dry cleaner and a vape shop. The receptionist greets you with a slightly suspicious smile until you slide the folded will across the counter and ask to speak with Mr. Langdon directly. 5 minutes later, you're in a room with framed certificates, an old Keurig, and a man who looks like he hasn't updated his headshot since fax machines were still cool. He reads the will slowly, then faster, then slowly again. Finally, he looks up and says, "Yeah, I remember this." "You do?" He nods. "Your mother came in by herself. It was late, just before closing. She was insistent, said she needed it witnessed that day. Was she okay?" He tilts his head, tired, but focused. Knew exactly what she wanted. She said something about her daughters. Said things had become complicated. "I didn't ask." You press your hands into your lap to hide the tremble. "Would you be willing to testify if needed?" He doesn't answer right away. Just studies your face like he's deciding whether you're worth the trouble. Then he sighs and says, "I don't do this often, but yes, if this goes legal, call me." You thank him and walk out with your heart in your throat. You half expect Sabrina to be waiting outside in her car engine, running shades on like a soap opera villain. But there's no one. Just traffic and a breeze that smells like citrus from the smoothie place next door. Historians still debate whether the Library of Alexandria burned down in one single catastrophic event or gradually fell into ruin through a series of smaller destructions. Either way, the knowledge was lost, erased, sometimes by fire, sometimes by silence. You can't help but wonder if your mother saw this happening. Her legacy, her voice, her intent burning slowly. And you're standing in the ashes reading every scorched page. That evening, you meet with the lawyer again. You give him the name of the notary, the journal, the attic photos. You're building your case like a Jenga tower, except this time every block makes it stronger. He nods along as you speak, tapping his pen. "You have more than I expected," he admits. "It's going to be hard for Sabrina to argue this away." You sit forward. "She'll try." He sighs. "Of course she will. But this document has a timestamp, a licensed notary, and emotion. That matters." Emotion. He shrugs. "Juries, judges, they're human. They like stories. This one has legs." You leave the office with a sense of something rising in your chest. Not joy, not even hope, just resolve. Then halfway to your car, your phone buzzes again. This time it's not a text. It's a voicemail. You listen. Sabrina's voice is clipped like she's speaking through her teeth. "If you go through with this, you'll regret it. You don't know everything. You don't want to know everything." Click. You replay it just to make sure you heard right. You did. It's not just a threat. It's a confession. That night, you dream of your mother. Not as she was at the end, but younger. Standing in the kitchen, humming, her hands covered in flour. She turns and smiles at you, and for a second, the weight in your chest lifts. Then she whispers something you can't quite hear. You wake up with your fists clenched. You check your phone. No new messages. You pour yourself tea, mom's favorite blend. The one Sabrina never liked. You watch the steam rise and finally say out loud, "She tried to erase me." And for the first time, you're ready to erase her back. You return to the lawyer's office 2 days later with a flash drive, 3 printed copies of the new will of photo of the notary's office, and a copy of the nurse's phone number just in case. You're no longer just grieving a mother. You're preparing to bury a lie. The lawyer reviews your materials again. This time his tone shifts from caution to confidence. You have the will. You have a reliable notary. And you've got circumstantial evidence that raises eyebrows, he says. But we'll need to file this in probate court and prepare for resistance. You nod. "I'm ready." He gives a slow smile. "Then let's file a petition to admit the new will and invalidate the original." You pause before leaving. "Do you think Sabrina knew about this will, the real one?" He leans back. "Let me put it this way. Documents don't go missing on their own. Someone had a motive access and no interest in you ever finding this." You walk to your car with the paperwork in your bag. A small part of you expects Sabrina to appear, throw a latte in your face, and declare a dramatic monologue about betrayal. But the street is quiet. You get in, shut the door, and let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. Later that evening, as you scroll mindlessly through your texts again, a new one pops up. From your cousin Lucy. Hey, got a weird call from Sabrina. Said you're trying to undo mom's wishes, is that true? You stare at it. Then you type, no, I'm honoring them. She's the one who tried to undo them. Three dots, typing. Then nothing. You put your phone down and open mom's journal again. You flip to a random page, July 19th. The lawyer didn't sound surprised when I asked to draft a new will. That worries me. I think he already knew this was coming. You sit back, let those words sink in. That night, you get a call not from Lucy, from the lawyer. She called, he says. Sabrina. Yep, screaming. Said you're lying, said your version was fabricated. She threatened legal action against you for slander. You don't even flinch. She can try. She also asked if the new will had been filed yet. You smile. What did you say? I said it would be, tomorrow morning. Historians still argue whether Thomas Edison truly invented the light bulb or simply refined existing designs. Some say he stole credit from innovators like Nikola Tesla. Others defend him. Either way, he got the spotlight because he controlled the narrative. That's what this is now, a battle for the narrative. And you've got the truth, tired, dusty, and folded into the attic, of a woman who was too gentle to fight but too wise to leave you defenseless. The next morning, you receive an email from a name you don't recognize, Colleen March, LCSW. Subject, Hospice Support Journal Inquiry. Your heart rate spikes. You open it. Hello, I was one of the hospice counselors who occasionally worked with your mother near the end. A nurse mentioned that you might be revisiting her care records and journal entries. I remember your mother very clearly. She asked to speak with me privately one evening, said she was worried about her legacy being tampered with. I can't say more over email, but I kept notes. If you're interested, I'd be willing to speak on the record if this goes to court. You blink, not just another witness. A corroborator. You forward the email to your lawyer with a single line. She wasn't imagining it. Then you pick up the phone and call Lucy. You've been avoiding it. You didn't want to risk having to explain yourself. But if there's anyone in the family who might believe you, it's her. She answers after the first ring. Hey. There's a pause. Then she says, you weren't lying, were you? No, you say quietly. I found mom's real will. She left everything to me. Another pause. And then to your shock, she says, I believe you. You sit down. You do, yeah, because when Sabrina called me, she didn't sound angry. She sounded scared. That night, you sleep a little better. Only a little. Because you know what's coming next. You hear it before you see it, the tapping of Sabrina's heels on the courthouse tile. You're already seated in the waiting room outside the probate clerk's office, your lawyer beside you with a calmness that feels almost rehearsed. Then she walks in designer bag, oversized sunglasses, and a half-hearted smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. I assume this is the circus, she says, standing over you. You don't flinch, more like the cleanup crew. Your lawyer nods politely. Good morning, Miss Holloway. Sabrina doesn't even acknowledge him, just lowers her shades and locks eyes with you. This is low even for you, she says. You raise an eyebrow. You forged a will, Sabrina. She tilts her head, allegedly. You open your mouth, but your lawyer gently puts a hand on your arm. Don't engage. She's looking for a reaction. You nod and go quiet. Inside the clerk's office, you watch as your lawyer presents the new will, the notarization, and the affidavit from the hospice counselor who emailed you. The clerk glances at the documents, makes copies, and hands you a stamped receipt like it's any other Tuesday. That's it, the beginning of the legal avalanche. As you exit, Sabrina corners you again in the hallway. She was confused, you know. You can't trust anything she wrote at the end. You turn eyes narrow, but you trusted her enough to read her first will in front of the whole family. Silence. She walks away, and for the first time, you see something flicker in her posture fear. You remember a story your history professor once told about Anne Boleyn. How during her final days, she joked and smiled and even adjusted her hair before execution because image was power, even in death. Historians still argue whether her bravery was real or just a mask for terror. But either way, it worked. Sabrina's image is slipping, and she knows it. That weekend, you head back to Mom's house not to search, but to breathe. You're not afraid of ghosts. You're afraid of forgetting. You sit in the garden, the one Sabrina never finished. The dirt is dry, but you water the soil anyway, letting it drink in the moment. You think about Mom's voice, soft, careful, but never weak. You pull out the journal again, flipping to the page with the taped photo. You rub your thumb along the bottom edge of the page, and something shifts. The tape. There's a second sheet behind the photo. You peel it back carefully. Another note. Just a few lines scrawled in her smallest handwriting. If she reads this instead of you, I've failed. But if it's you, plant something here. Just one thing. Let it grow. You look up at the garden. You don't cry. Not yet. That night, your cousin Lucy calls again. Did you hear what Sabrina told Aunt Carol? No, she said you found an old draft of the will and are trying to manipulate it. She says mom was under pressure when she wrote it. Under pressure from who herself? Lucy sighs. She's spinning, but some people are starting to question her version. You sit on your bed staring at the wall. Did you ever notice how she acted during mom's last week? Lucy hesitates. Actually, yeah, she was twitchy, controlling. Always telling me to go wait in the kitchen or mom's sleeping when I tried to visit. You tell her about the photo, the note, the garden. There's a pause, then Lucy says, then plant something. So you do. You go out the next morning and buy a small lavender plant, mom's favorite scent. You dig a space by the back fence and gently nestle the roots into the soil. The sun is warm on your neck, the breeze just sharp enough to feel alive. As you water it, you whisper, I got the will, Mom. I'm fighting. You swear the wind moves the leaves in response. The next morning, your lawyer calls. We've been contacted by Sabrina's attorney. She's planning to contest. They're claiming your version is fake. You expected this. What's our move, you ask? We wait and we prepare. But I'd like to talk to the notary again, maybe get him on record. You nod. He said he would. And then, almost as an afterthought, your lawyer says, I used to work with Sabrina's attorney. She only pulls out the big guns when she's desperate. Good. Let her be desperate. Let her try to lie her way through this. Because now, finally, you're the one holding the truth. You never thought you'd become fluent in probate law, but here you are. Halfway through a stack of legal briefs, sipping lukewarm coffee, and highlighting phrases like undue influence and testamentary capacity like they're verses in a sacred text. You don't understand all of it, but you understand enough to know you've got ammunition. Your lawyer calls it leverage. You call it survival. The day you learn about probate fraud is the day everything clicks. It's the legal term for exactly what Sabrina did, knowingly submitting an outdated will when a newer one exists, especially if she hid the update. It's not just shady, it's criminal. But that's not even the part that gets your attention. It's the sentence in bold from your lawyer's notes. Intentional suppression of a valid will can lead to invalidation of the estate's distribution and potential felony charges. Felony. That word has weight. You write it in the center of your notebook and circle it 5 times. Sabrina might have wanted the house, the money, the jewelry, but what she didn't count on, you learning the rules of her game and playing them better. Still, law isn't just truth and justice, it's strategy. Your lawyer explains that filing criminal charges is up to the state, not you. What you can do, though, is build pressure. File to invalidate the old will. Call witnesses. Use the nurse, the notary, the journal. Show the judge there's a pattern, one that smells like bleach and control. Historians still argue whether Machiavelli's The Prince was sincere political advice or satirical commentary. Either way, the central idea holds people will do anything to keep power, and the smart ones learn to spot it early. You start spotting it in your sister everywhere. The way she tried to isolate mom. The subtle digs when you'd visit. The sudden decision to take over handling things when mom got worse. It wasn't caregiving. It was territory control. One night, as you're organizing your timeline, you remember something mom said months before her final decline. Something about the family lawyer acting weird when she brought up changing her estate. That sticks with you. You decide to visit him again. When you arrive, he's visibly annoyed to see you, not overtly, but his tone is tight, his smile thinner. I already told you. I know you cut him off, but I have a few questions, and this time I'm recording. His eyes flicker. You place your phone on the desk, hit record, and slide it forward. When mom asked about amending her will, did she seem competent? He hesitates, yes. Did she mention what was motivating her? She said things had changed, that she wanted to make sure her quiet one wasn't forgotten. You pause. Did she mean me? He clears his throat. She didn't say a name. But you knew. He looks away. You lean in. Why didn't you follow up? Silence. You stop recording. Thanks, you say flatly. We'll be issuing a subpoena if needed. As you leave, you feel a surge of adrenaline. Not rage clarity. The kind you only get when every piece starts clicking into place. That night, Sabrina calls again. You don't answer. She leaves a voicemail. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Okay, mom was confused. I was trying to help. You play it 3 times, save it, send it to your lawyer. He responds in 1 line. That's an admission of intent. You're no longer building a case. You're building momentum. And for the first time, you realize this isn't just about getting what you deserve. It's about making sure she never does this to anyone else. The family court building looks like every other government building, dull beige walls, fluorescent lights, chairs built to punish anyone sitting longer than 5 minutes. But to you, it feels like a battlefield, or maybe a stage. And today, the curtain rises. You sit at the petitioner's table beside your lawyer, dressed in a soft navy blouse, nothing too flashy but not invisible either. Sabrina is across the room, all sharp edges and silent fury, wearing a blazer that screams, "I'm right, and I know it." Her lawyer whispers something in her ear and she smirks, not even bothering to glance your way. You keep your eyes on the judge as she enters. No time for petty drama. This is war. The clerk announces the case. Your lawyer stands first. We're here today to contest the previously filed last will and testament of Marianne Holloway, he begins. We assert that a more recent legally valid will exists and that the older will was knowingly and wrongfully submitted in its place. The courtroom is small, but the silence feels cathedral level heavy. Even the air conditioner seems to pause. Sabrina's lawyer counters quickly. The newer document is unverified. The signature could be forged. The mental capacity of Ms. Holloway is in question. And there it is. The strategy? Discredit Mom. You feel a twist in your stomach like nausea wrapped in betrayal. Your lawyer pushes forward calmly. We have a sworn affidavit from the notary who witnessed the signing, along with corroborating testimony from a hospice counselor and physical evidence, namely the deceased's journal, which indicates clear intent to amend her estate plan. The judge raises an eyebrow. Physical evidence. Your lawyer passes up the journal gently, like it's sacred. He points to the entry with the taped note, the photo, and the quote, "She'll be the one who listens." The judge reads silently, then sets it down. You watch her expression shift just slightly, enough to give you hope. Then comes the crossfire. Your lawyer calls the notary Stuart Langdon. He's nervous but solid. Confirms Mom was coherent, knew what she wanted, used the phrase correcting a mistake. Sabrina glares at him the whole time, but he doesn't flinch. Next, the hospice counselor. Calm, professional, recounts the conversation where your mother expressed concern about her wishes not being honored. Sabrina's lawyer tries to spin it. Grief can color perception. Is it possible the patient was simply paranoid? The counselor looks at her and replies, "It's possible, but unlikely. She was lucid. Concerned, not confused." Boom. Then comes your turn. You step up, hands shaking slightly, but you speak clearly. "I found the new will in my mother's attic. Sealed, hidden, tucked beneath insulation. That's not where someone puts a legally binding document unless they're afraid someone will find it and destroy it." Sabrina's lawyer objects. Speculation. The judge allows it. Let her speak. You continue. "I also found journals, photos, notes, all consistent with the revised document's terms. My sister was the only one with keys to the house after our mother's death. She handled the estate. She chose which will to submit." You stop. Let it hang. The judge leans forward. "Do you believe she intentionally suppressed the second will?" You meet Sabrina's eyes. Yes. Sabrina's lawyer rises. "Your Honor, I'd like to request a short recess before cross-examining my client." The judge nods. You return to your seat, knees weak. Your lawyer leans in. "You did well. Really well." You whisper, "Will it be enough?" He smiles. "It's not about if anymore. It's about when." Historians still argue whether Julius Caesar truly said "et tu brute" as he was stabbed. Some believe it's Shakespeare's invention. Others think the real words were more mundane. But regardless, betrayal by someone close has always carried a certain sting. And now, Sabrina is standing in the middle of her own Roman forum, and the knives are paperwork. During the recess, you step outside for air. The sky is overcast, flat gray, and uncommitted. A pigeon limps near the steps, pecking at invisible crumbs. Your phone buzzes. It's Lucy. Everyone in the family chat is talking about the hearing. Aunt Carol just flips sides. You smile, small but it's there. When you re-enter, Sabrina takes the stand. She's poised, polished, her voice soft as velvet. "I was trying to protect the family," she says. Mom was disoriented. She was always changing her mind. I thought this was what she really wanted." But the cracks show. Her lawyer has to keep redirecting. Her story keeps shifting. At one point, she says Mom was too sick to write. Then she admits Mom sent her a shopping list that same day. The judge narrows her eyes. You just watch. When it's over, court adjourns for the day. No ruling yet. That comes later. Outside, Sabrina walks past you. No words, just silence. You stand still until she's gone. Because now, it's not about what she says. It's about what she can no longer undo. You don't expect the knock at your door. Not at 9:42 p.m. 2 nights after the hearing. You're still in your sweats halfway through a cold slice of leftover pizza when it comes 3 knocks. Not aggressive, not tentative, just official. You peer through the peephole and your heart stops. A woman stands there in scrubs, a bag over her shoulder. Late 40s, maybe 50s. Tired eyes but alert. You open the door slowly. "Can I help you?" She gives a soft nod. "Name's Jeanette. I was one of the night nurses on your mom's hospice rotation. The quiet one. Always on the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. You blink. I don't remember you. She shrugs. Not many do. I'm not the chatty type, but I was there, and I've been following the case. Someone from the team forwarded me a link to the court filing. I didn't think you'd get this far, but when I saw you did, she reaches into her bag and pulls out a small notebook, leather bound, worn. She asked me to keep this. Said if anything ever seemed off, if the will reading didn't feel right, I should get it to you. You take the notebook with both hands. It feels heavier than it should, like it holds gravity. She told me your sister didn't like her journaling, that she always peeked over her shoulder, so she wrote these at night when Sabrina wasn't around. You open to the first page, your mother's handwriting again. Jeanette has kind eyes. She reminds me of what trust feels like. The entries go on, some short, some scrawled barely legible. One catches your eye immediately. She lied about the lawyer visit. I knew she would. I signed the new will and gave it to Sabrina to deliver. A week later, she told me it was filed, but something in her smile made me feel small, like I'd handed her my voice and watched her fold it into a drawer. You close the book and look up stunned. Jeanette sighs. I didn't want to get involved. I've seen families eat each other alive over things like this, but your mom wasn't like most. She looked right at me one night and said, "My daughter's going to need a sword. Will you hold it for her until she's ready?" You don't even realize you're crying until Jeanette gently presses a tissue into your hand. Historians still argue whether the lost journals of Leonardo da Vinci would have rewritten parts of scientific history had they survived. Some say their disappearance was theft, others coincidence. But one thing is certain: when people try to erase truth, they always fear who might find it again. This journal, it's the sword. And you've just been handed the hilt. Jeanette leaves quietly without asking for anything. You thank her, and she nods as if to say, "Now it's your turn." When you close the door, you sit on the floor and reread the entries 3 times. Each word is fuel, each paragraph a match. The next day, you bring the journal to your lawyer. His eyes go wide as he reads the first few entries. This is decisive. You think it's enough? He doesn't hesitate. It's more than enough. This isn't just an account, it's a timeline. It proves intent. She names names, dates, feelings. And more importantly, she names you as the person she trusted. You whisper, "We've got her." That afternoon, you receive an email. No subject line, no body text, just an attachment. It's a document labeled Holloway Family Trust, Equal Distribution Draft, a PDF. You open it, Sabrina's proposal. A 50-50 split of the estate. No mention of your mother's second will. No apology. Just a business offer wrapped in a family name. You forward it to your lawyer. His response is instant. This is her white flag. It's disguised as generosity, but it's fear. She's trying to settle before the court forces her hand. You lean back in your chair. The sun is setting through the window, casting long shadows across the room. You remember a science fact from your freshman astronomy class: shadows on the moon can last for weeks. Entire days of darkness. But eventually, the light always returns. You reply to Sabrina with a single sentence. "I'm not negotiating with someone who buried our mother's wishes." Then you attach the scanned journal. Then you hit send. Later, you water the lavender in the garden. It's blooming. And somewhere deep in your chest, you start to feel like maybe you are too. By the time the court reconvenes, word has spread through the extended family like wildfire soaked in gossip. The group chat has split into factions: Team Sabrina and Team You. You haven't responded to any of them. Not Aunt Carol's long-winded defense of keeping peace, not Uncle Tom's passive-aggressive question, "Why bring this up now after everything she did for your mother?" They weren't there when Mom whispered, "She'll be the one who listens." They didn't find the journal with the ink still stained by anxiety. They didn't see the lavender bloom. Your lawyer advises you not to post anything publicly, and you listen. But you do write, quietly, for yourself. One sentence on a notepad beside your bed. This time, silence won't protect them. At court, Sabrina walks in wearing a softer look, light colors, subdued makeup. She's changed strategy. This isn't the bold denialist from before. This is the grieving daughter, the misunderstood one, the victim. But there's a flicker in her eye, a stutter in her step when she sees Jeanette seated beside your lawyer. Jeanette nods politely. Sabrina's hand tightens on her handbag. The judge enters and takes her seat. Everyone rises, then sits. You can hear your own breathing. Your lawyer stands. "Your Honor, we'd like to introduce new evidence, additional firsthand documentation and testimony that corroborates the decedent's intent as outlined in the newer will." He presents Jeanette's notebook and a sworn affidavit. Then he calls her to the stand. Jeanette isn't dramatic. She doesn't cry or monologue. She just tells the truth. "She told me she was scared her wishes wouldn't be honored, that she gave the new will to Sabrina and never saw it again. Did she ever express doubt in her decision? No, Jeanette says firmly. She was sure, more than I've seen in most. Sabrina's lawyer tries to dismiss it. Ms. Jeanette, would it surprise you to know that my client remembers these conversations very differently? Jeanette doesn't flinch. Wouldn't surprise me at all, but I was the one in the room. When Jeanette steps down, the judge scribbles something on her pad and turns to Sabrina's lawyer. You've submitted a settlement draft. Are you still pursuing that option? Her lawyer shifts uncomfortably, only if it's mutually agreeable. The judge looks at you. Do you accept the terms? You shake your head. I don't want half you say softly. I want hers. My mother's voice. Her legacy. Not a compromise, not a diluted version that erases what she tried to say. I'm not asking for more than what she chose. I'm asking for only that. The courtroom falls into a kind of reverent quiet, like everyone finally heard the real reason you're here. Historians still argue whether Helen Keller truly wrote all her speeches herself or if her companions helped shape them behind the scenes. But it doesn't really matter. What matters is that people tried to silence her and she kept speaking. You won't be silenced either. After court, Sabrina corners you in the hallway. No lawyer this time. Just her and you. Like when you were kids, except this time the masks are off. You think you've won, she says through gritted teeth. You stare at her. I didn't come here to win. I came here so Mom wouldn't lose. She shakes her head. You don't get it. She changed everything because of you. You were always her project, her guilt. You blink. No, Sabrina. I was her daughter. She scoffs. So what now? You take the house. Sell her jewelry. Parade around with her garden like you earned it. You pause. No, I plant it. She looks confused. You step closer, calm-centered. I plant the garden she never got to finish. I water what she loved. I protect what she asked me to. You can keep your inheritance drafts. I've got the roots. Sabrina doesn't answer. She just walks away faster this time, as if the building is caving in behind her. That night, your lawyer calls. Judge's ruling comes in 2 days. But if I had to guess, we're in the home stretch. You nod into the phone heart steady. Thanks. You head out to the garden again. The lavender has taken root. You kneel and add a few wildflowers beside it. Daisies, zinnias. Mom always said zinnias were cheerful even when nothing else bloomed. You light a small candle in the dirt. Not for mourning, for memory. Then you whisper, we're almost there, Mom. You're almost heard. You don't expect it to feel so quiet when the decision comes in. No dramatic music, no thunderclap, not even a text from Lucy. Just an official letter in your mailbox printed on bland white paper with a seal that looks like it was designed by someone who hated design. You hold it in both hands, back pressed to the front door, and read. The court recognizes the validity of the revised will date having found sufficient corroborating evidence and testimony to establish the decedent's clear intent. The petition to invalidate the prior will is granted. All estate distributions under the previous document are rendered null and void. And just like that, the war's over. You sink to the floor, the letter in your lap, your hands trembling not from fear this time, but from release. You don't cry. There's no joy in this. Just air finally moving through your chest again. A space where something heavy used to sit. The next call is to your lawyer. He congratulates you, assures you that Sabrina's only option now would be to file an appeal, but warns that it would likely go nowhere. The ruling was thorough, he says. The judge even quoted your mother's journal. She'll be the one who listens. That carried weight. You thank him. He asks what you plan to do with the estate. You pause. I haven't thought that far yet, but I know I'm not selling it. And you mean it. The next day, you return to the house. This time, the key fits with more weight. You unlock the front door slowly, half expecting the air to resist you, but it doesn't. It welcomes you. Everything looks the same, untouched but waiting. The framed photo of you and Mom still sits on the mantel. Sabrina didn't even bother to move it. You walk room to room, each one a portal into a different era. You pause in the dining room, the table where the first will was read aloud, the same table where Mom once hosted your awkward 8th grade birthday party and served overcooked spaghetti because the sauce exploded in the microwave. You remember every crack in the wood, every faded placemat. It's yours now, but it never stopped being hers. That night, you sleep in your old bedroom. It still smells faintly like lavender and dust. You lie there under the faded quilt she made, staring at the ceiling, waiting for dreams that don't come. Instead, something better does peace. That rare kind that settles into your bones when truth is finally louder than silence. Historians still argue whether Harriet Tubman truly led over 70 enslaved people to freedom or more. Some records say it was fewer. Others say it was many times more than that. But the one thing no one debates, She never lost a single passenger. That's what matters. You didn't lose your mother's voice, and that's what matters now. The next morning, you find yourself in the garage. Old boxes, dusty shelves, a broken lawn chair, nothing special. But there's a small metal file cabinet wedged behind some Christmas decorations. You kneel, tug it open. Inside, among yellowed receipts and rubber bands, is a locked tin box. Your heart skips. You pry it open with a screwdriver. Inside, letters. Dozens of them, all addressed to you. You pull out the first one. The handwriting is unmistakable. If you're reading this, then you did it. You found the truth. I never doubted that you would. You always listened, even when no one else did. You saw through people. You forgave too much. But you never let go of who you are. You read another. Don't let her twist this into guilt. It's not your job to carry her consequences. You already carried too much. Just live, sweetheart. That's all I ever wanted. You read until the sun is high in the sky and your face is wet with tears you didn't notice forming. You sit on the garage floor surrounded by her words, her love, her clarity. You whisper, I miss you. The echo of that fills the air. Then your phone buzzes. It's Lucy. She's telling people you manipulated mom at the end, but no one's really buying it. You reply, let her talk. I have the truth. A minute later, she responds, I know. I believed it the moment I saw how you looked at that lavender, like you were still listening. You smile, phone in hand, heart a little lighter. That evening, you print out copies of the journal, one for the safe, one for Lucy, one for Jeanette. You write a short letter to each of them, not for legal reasons, for legacy, because this story didn't end with a court ruling. It began with a mother trusting her daughter to finish what she couldn't. There's a strange stillness that comes with justice. Not joy, not celebration, just the hum of everything returning to its proper place, like a painting finally hung straight on the wall. You wake up in mom's house to birdsong outside the window, the light soft and golden across the old wooden floor. You walk to the kitchen, barefoot. Everything is just as it was, the floral mugs, the chipped tile near the sink, even the tea tin still on the shelf. You make a cup of mom's favorite blend. The kettle whistles. The scent rises. For a moment, it feels like she might walk in and ask if you've eaten. You take your tea out to the back garden. The lavender is fuller now. The zinnias are opening like they've been waiting for someone to notice. You crouch down, fingertips brushing the soil. It's cool and forgiving. You feel something alive beneath it, roots stretching quietly in every direction. You plant another flower, marigolds this time. Bright, loud, unapologetic. Like mom's laugh on the rare days she didn't have to pretend. Inside, you've started going through her drawers. Not to take inventory, just to understand. In one, you find a ticket stub from a play you both saw years ago. In another, a photo of you in high school with a note on the back. She's stronger than she thinks. I just hope she finds a world that deserves her. You don't tell anyone about that note, not even Lucy. That one's yours. You spend the next few days meeting with the estate accountant, the probate clerk, and reluctantly Sabrina's attorney, who now speaks in clipped legal tones without any of the forced warmth. Sabrina doesn't show. She's out of state, apparently. You imagine her somewhere exotic trying to reshape the story for anyone who will listen. But her silence is telling. Your lawyer confirms the assets are yours now, the house, the accounts, the jewelry, all of it. You ask him about donating some to the hospice care center that helped mom. He smiles. That would go a long way. You think about Jeanette. You write her a thank you card and include a check inside, not a bribe, not hush money, just a symbol of gratitude. A way of saying, you held the sword. Now let me carry it. Historians still argue whether Vincent van Gogh's final painting, Wheatfield with Crows, was meant as a symbol of despair or resilience. Some see the dark sky and the crows as death. Others see the vibrant wheat as life pushing through. You think it's both. Maybe grief always is. One afternoon, while sorting through mom's old recipe box, you find a card labeled just in case. The handwriting is rushed, scribbled, but unmistakable. You flip it over. If something goes wrong, trust your gut. Find the photo box in the coat closet. It's not just photos. You drop the recipe card. Coat closet. You rush there, heart thudding. The photo box is labeled Family Reunion 1994. You remember the event vaguely, bad potato salad and worse karaoke. But under the photos is a manila envelope. Inside letters, handwritten, dated. One to her lawyer, never mailed. One to Sabrina, never delivered. And one addressed to you. You read it slowly. It's long, tender, angry in parts, confused in others, but most of all, it's honest. I didn't know how to stop her. I didn't know how to protect you from her and still keep the peace. So I wrote. That's what I always do when I'm scared. You were never supposed to be the one to fix all this, but I guess I always knew you would. She finishes with, I hope one day when the soil is soft again, you'll grow something new. Something she can't uproot. You fold the letter gently and place it on your nightstand. That evening, you invite Lucy over. She brings dinner. You eat on the back porch watching the sky turn orange over the fence line. She asks if you're okay. You say not really, but I'm getting there. She nods and says, I think mom would have been proud. You blink, your mom? No, Lucy says softly, yours. You both sit in silence after that. Not because there's nothing left to say, but because you said everything that mattered. You don't realize how heavy the house had been until you start opening windows. Room by room, you let the air and new air cool and alive. You strip off old curtains and toss them into a donation pile. The scent of lemon cleaner follows you like a trail. You scrub baseboards, wipe dust off picture frames, and find yourself smiling at the old postcard on the fridge. Mom never removed a photo of Venice with the words, "Next time we go together." You never did. But somehow this feels like keeping the promise anyway. In the hall closet, you find mom's wedding dress wrapped in tissue. You don't cry, not yet. You fold it neatly and place it in a cedar box with a label. For later, for memory. You even sort through the jewelry, her gold chain, the brooch with the chipped enamel, the ring Sabrina always wanted. You slip it onto your own finger just to feel its weight. And in that moment, you feel the strangest sensation. Not ownership, but continuation. The garden blooms faster now. Maybe it's the season, maybe it's you. Each day you add a new plant. Rosemary for remembrance, peonies for healing, snapdragons just because mom thought the name was funny. You hum while you water, not a tune, just noise, but peaceful. You start to see your reflection in the mirror again, not the girl erased from a will, not the daughter dismissed by a family, but someone whole. A woman who fought not just for land and assets, but for truth, for voice, for love. Historians still argue whether Emily Dickinson wanted her poems published. Most of them were found posthumously tucked into drawers and envelopes. Some scholars claim she feared judgment. Others believe she simply didn't care for the noise of recognition. What matters is this: her words endured. Quietly, exactly as she'd left them. You think of mom's words. You think of how they sat, waiting, folded in silence until someone was brave enough to listen. One morning, you make a final trip to the courthouse. Not for anything legal, just to hand deliver copies of the final judgment to the Hospice Foundation, along with a donation in your mother's name. When the receptionist thanks you, you say this wasn't about the money. It was about setting the record straight. Then you walk back outside into the spring air, and for the first time in what feels like years, you don't feel like looking over your shoulder. That evening, you sit on the back porch. The sky is lavender, now fitting. You sip tea from the old chipped mug you refuse to throw away and watch the light move across the grass like a soft breath. You take out mom's last letter. You've read it 20 times, but you read it once more, just because. Then you write your own. You don't know who it's for, maybe your future self. Maybe no one, but you write. This is where I stop carrying her silence and start growing my own sound. This is the place she protected me from. This is the story she didn't get to finish, but I did. You fold the note, tuck it into the back of the same journal. You light one last candle, watch it flicker. The house isn't heavy anymore. It's just home, so now you breathe slower. You let the tension drain from your shoulders the way water seeps into fresh earth. You listen to the gentle hum of a house at Restwood, creaking walls, settling wind, brushing against the window panes like a whispered secret. You made it through. Maybe you didn't get justice in the form of an apology, but you got the truth. You found the letters. You held the journal. You looked someone else's version of the past in the eye and said, "No, not this time." And that's enough. You'll still have moments. Days where a whiff of her perfume or a certain type of music makes something tighten in your chest. But now you'll know what to do with that feeling. You'll plant something, you'll open a window, you'll speak a little louder, because silence didn't protect her, but your voice did. So now take a deep breath in, let it out slow, feel the ground beneath you, safe, solid, yours. The house may be quiet now, but that's not emptiness. It's peace. It's the soft hum of a legacy restored, a voice unburied, a garden blooming long after the hands that planted it are gone. And it's yours to keep. Good night.